Life can change in an instant. For many wheelchair users, the struggle to push forward is a daily challenge.
After years of development and countless prototypes, we created Rib Grips, the revolutionary wheelchair hand rim covers with built-in ribs for ultimate grip and comfort.
No more slick surfaces, no more heat burns, just pure, reliable grip. Rib Grips, empowering you to push forward with ease. Rib Grips, get a grip on your freedom. Discover the difference. Visit ribgrips.com and use promo code GRIP today. You just found the perfect product that helps with staying cool during hot summer runs. No more gross warm water. Stay cool with this product from Gear Handle. This hydration tube cover helps keep your water cool and easily accessible. Stay hydrated during those long summer runs or even delay from freezing in the winter. Plus, they're compatible with various brands of water bladders and come in various colors. Visit gearhandle.com and use promo code H2O today.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about comic books, costumes, facts, boots, and other stuff.
In this week's issue, Hellboy, Seed of Destruction.
Welcome into Bros, Foes, and Heroes. I am Zach, joined as always by the Maleficent one.
Oh,
great. Mr. Mike.
Howdy.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. This is an episode we're bringing to you today that was voted on by you guys.
Yeah.
And something that I'd always wanted to read and just have never gotten around to it. It's Hellboy, Seed of Destruction, which is actually the first 4 issues that Mike Mignola made back in 1990. Ooh, now I'm off my years. I want to say 96, 95 when this came out.
Wow, really?
Maybe even 94. It's
didn't
one
realize,
of those 3 years.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that old.
I was for that right there. The first edition of this came out in October of 94. So
okay.
Wow. It's
30 years ago?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
So a little bit of history, because I just watched I read some interviews, watched some interviews, read and watched, because you can
read
do
and
both
watch,
of those
sure.
with
Yeah,
interviews.
yeah. Audio and video. Yeah.
Of Mike Mignola, and he was talking about, like, whenever he was given the opportunity at, like, conventions and stuff like that to just draw whatever he wanted to draw, he kept drawing a creature that was very similar to, like, Hellboy in a way.
Yeah.
Like, there was different tweaks and stuff, but I think that he liked, obviously he was like, if I can do something like that, then for the rest of my life, like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
He did a lot of other work for Marvel and DC and other things. He's the penciler for Gotham by Gaslight, but I think he himself, and I don't want to put words into his mouth, but just from what I gathered from this, enjoys the draw, like what he's able to draw on Hellboy more than any of that other stuff.
Yeah.
The monsters, the love. There's a very Lovecraftianness to it.
Well, it's the job versus the passion, right? I mean, that's what those two things are. Yeah.
There's actually a documentary coming out about, like, him and the character.
Really?
I think sometime this year, since it is the 30th. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But this was a Dark Horse book back in 1994 when it came out.
And then Crooked Man, which is about to come out.
Yes,
too.
which he wrote the script for. I found out, though, from watching the trailer for the documentary, that I think maybe he and Guillermo del Toro got into it a little bit.
Really?
Like, Del Toro's in the documentary, so obviously I don't think that it's, like they were able to get past it, but it just seems like, or it's just they both had different ideas of what Hellboy was supposed to be. Like, the quote from the clip that stuck with me is, like, Mignola goes, well, Hellboy wouldn't do that, and Del Toro told him, well, my Hellboy would.
Ooh.
Yeah. Anyway,
I can't imagine Del Toro being super easy to work with.
he seems like
he's like one of those visionary directors, and he wants it his way and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that's a long line of directors you're talking about
sure.
now. Now you're talking about Kubrick and people like that.
A lot of them are like that. But so also just a little bit of housekeeping then before we dive into Hellboy for today. The poll up for next week's show, I'm going to go ahead and call it right now. We gave it the week. We're gonna have Batman Damned.
Very nice.
The week after that. So
my Sergeant Rock didn't quite make it to the top.
No, it got third place though.
Okay. All right.
16% of the vote. 500 votes this week, and so 16% of it to Sergeant Rock. He finished third.
I'll take a bronze.
Holt Grave finished last. Old Man Logan again in second place with 31% of the vote, and then 40. Or, no, I'm making up percentages now. That anyway, Logan was third, and I'll put the graph up here.
I am really enjoying like the poll part of it.
Yes,
I think that's
like
super cool that people are voting.
What you guys want.
Really great.
I also have some stuff that I want to potentially start in the future too that I've talked to Mike about here soon about some Silver Age just silly stories, and they're just covering all the great. A lot of them seem to be in World's Finest, but just the weird adventures of Batman and
like
Superman.
The people that make the chocolate,
Age. Huh?
The people that make the chocolate, World's Finest.
I mean that is the same people, but no, this is the comic book series. World's Finest.
All right. I like the one with the almonds.
I do too. The caramel ones aren't bad either.
Nah, I don't like.
Do you not like caramel?
I like caramel just fine. I don't want it in my bar of chocolate I buy from a
But
strange
you buy it into,
children.
dude. No, it's good.
Yeah,
it's good. Okay.
Strange children and caramel don't mix.
So let's go ahead and. I have nothing. No segue for that.
I don't know.
Let's go ahead and get into Hellboy: Seed of Destruction today.
This thing is beautiful. Number one.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous comic.
I've always wanted to read it. I kind of got into it a little bit, but I've just never gotten around to it. Like I know that the people who love it obviously have to love it for a reason. I have always enjoyed Mike Mignola's art though. Like I've seen the art from Hellboy comics.
Yeah, it's pretty gorgeous.
And I've always dug it, and I enjoyed it throughout this whole book. Like it's Seed of Destruction is the first 4 issues, so it's kind of the first storyline of him. It also has the volume that I have here. Also had the first 2 like appearances. One of them, I can't remember the magazine. It was both like preview, like magazines they were in of like 4-issue stories. But
so, Hellboy was started when?
94.
This is it.
Yeah, this is it.
This is the very beginning of Hellboy.
It is. I'm trying to see if I can go to the last.
I didn't realize
page.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is the very first Hellboy story.
Huh. Okay.
So, and I haven't seen the movies, but you have.
Yes.
At least the Del Toro ones.
I really, really enjoy the first 2 Del Toro movies. The second one I liked a lot better because it's fantastical. You know, there's a lot of like there's a marketplace they go to. It's very reminiscent of like Star Wars or something with all the characters and things. So I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I have not watched them yet.
Yeah.
Oh, they colored them too. I forgot about that. But I started watching. I had to hunt wide and low, high and low,
wide and low. Wide and low.
Different song. I had to search high and low to try to find where to watch it right now. But I was able to watch like the first 45 minutes of the one with Ron Perlman. And I feel like some of the story aspects then should feel familiar in a way. Like it feels like it's based off of it to a point, but it's not fully. Yeah, the very first one. So you should be familiar with some of it.
He's great as Hellboy, honestly. I mean, he's got the right tenor and the right build and all that stuff. You could use a bigger guy, but Perlman just has the attitude and all that stuff. He was really good as Hellboy.
For sure.
I really enjoyed it.
I'm completely with you there. So let's go ahead. I enjoyed watching him as that, and even afterwards, like when he talks about it, like I think he
I think he loved playing the character. Yeah.
The one thing when I started reading that just made me light up with glee, and I oddly knew that I was going to like this book right off the first bat, was that it has a for Jack Kirby, H.P. Lovecraft, and to his wife, and Elmer Newton as the thank yous. And I was like, all right, I already see who we're thanking here. Let's
His wife was H.P. Lovecraft?
No, my lovely wife Christine and the amazing Elmer Newton.
Sorry.
I was just saying he thanked for Jack Kirby.
Yeah, I got you. Anytime anybody mentions Jack Kirby, you're
they're my guy.
That's your
I'm
guy,
a big
right?
Kirby fan. So our story opens and it's like a journal entry from U.S. It's a Sergeant George Whitman, and he's talking about how things are. I think this letter's from it's 2 days before Christmas in 1944. So we're right around the end of World War II, or we are at the end of World War II. No, 45. So almost there. But he talks about how they're over seas in East Bromwich, England. Like the head brass, like they feel like the Nazis are up to something. There's people from.
It's something you can safely assume that the Nazis were usually up.
That's
to something.
true.
Yeah,
that's true. It talks about that. So there's like an American group of troops there with other English troops, but also members from the Bureau of Paranormal. What is it? The BPRD. I don't know. It'll come to me here in a second.
The
anyway,
Bureau of Paranormal.
I'll have to get into it in a second. Anyway, there are 3 people from. He talks about. They've gotten word about this Project Ragnarok that Hitler has gone and kind of found this occult guy that's going to help deliver him a miracle that's going to win the war for them. Right.
Got it.
So it's enough to worry the top brass in the U.S. for them to send a troop over there, along with he's not brought up anymore again, but along with the Torch of Liberty, who's an American superhero at the time.
Yeah, I see him there. I didn't realize it was a superhero involved.
Yeah. Well, he's only brought up here in the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, he might come up later. Well,
Sure.
I take that back. There is something that he did in the story that I'll bring it up. He eventually Hellboy's gun. He gave Hellboy his gun that he uses.
Gotcha.
So there you go.
And he's called what?
Torch of Liberty.
Torch of Liberty. Okay.
They also were introduced to
He looks a lot like some of those old public domain
for sure
heroes that we messed with earlier.
Oh yeah, no, I do love that look of him though too.
Yeah.
We're also introduced to a Professor Malcolm Frost, a Trevor.
Is that the guy in the front? The Malcolm Frost guy, the guy with the beard?
Here.
Oh, okay.
I think that's him.
Who's the guy in the middle?
That is Trevor. I'm gonna miss. It's Trevor Broomhome, I think, or just Broom is what they call him.
He looks like the guy that played Darth Vader's little boy or whatever. What was the last one? What was the last one where Darth Vader was his grandpa? What's the newest bad guy? Star Wars.
Kylo Ren?
Yeah, he looks like him.
Adam Driver?
He looks like Adam Driver. Yeah.
That was a long way to get there.
Well, you know.
He looks like Darth.
It was a scenic route.
Darth Vader's grandpa.
Grandbaby.
Wow. Anyway,
my
so
grandbaby, Adam Driver.
They're all set there. Oh, and then there's also a apparently Broom is some kind of paranormal whiz kid, and then there's a Lady of Symphony, Eden Jones, who is England's top medium. So it's like they're there with soldiers, but they're there with also people who kind of deal with the paranormal and.
Well, that was a big deal with the Nazis, right? They loved the occult and paranormal and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And that's the part of this is that they've hunted, they brought. So we're also taken to like the American general in typical American form is just like, are you sure? Like, I don't know what we're all here for, but you better be right about, this something. And he's like, and Broom is just like, Sergeant, I've spent the last 9 years studying this place. Like, I'm telling you, like trying to discover like what it is that while we're here, something's going to happen. We then see another island to the north, to the far, far north off the Scottish coast. And while we're in that island, we do see our villains, our Nazis there.
Oh, yeah.
And we see a guy with these giant like metal gloves with all these different like probes hanging off of it. And he's holding a stick. And he's like, he's kind of like giving this... what would you like ritual? Like he's reading things off, like well,
he's got
they're the flood which runneth through this land. 7 gods. He's talking. It's the 7 elder gods from Lovecraft stuff.
Well, he's got a pentagram on his chest, all that stuff. Yeah.
So
this guy's up to no good.
This is their head. This is their mystery occult man that the Nazis have brought in, and while he's giving this ritual, like lightning strikes his little stick, I guess, and like there's a giant, energy throughout.
That's the way they brought Jason back to life one time.
An energy stick?
Somebody jammed a shovel into him when he was already dead, and then lightning struck the shovel or the stick or whatever.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and then he got up. Yeah, I know.
Which one is that? That's one of the later ones, right?
It is one of the later ones. I think it's like Jason Goes to Cancun or something. I don't know which one it is.
Jason Goes to Cancun was
it's one of those.
But while
in association with travel to Cancun is what it was.
Yeah. So while the lightning strikes, we're taken back to our location in England, and there's a giant explosion there.
Uh-huh.
And then we go back to off the Scottish coast, and there's nothing.
I like how the head Nazi guy has like almost 3D glasses on.
One
of them's red, one of them's black.
Yeah.
Or blue.
And he goes like, Hitler, you promised him a miracle and you've delivered nothing. Like, he hates failures and what you've done. You're just, there's
Hitler,
nothing here for all this.
Hitler not famous.
And the guy tells him,
failures.
I haven't failed. I've set in motion events which cannot now be reversed or undone. I promised him a miracle. And then he says, I've made one. And that's where we go back to our location in England, and we see the Hellboy now there amongst the troops.
Now that photo, or that drawn photo there, there's also one just like it in the first movie.
Yes.
And it's very well done.
It is. And so this is very similar to Broom ends up giving him the name Hellboy because they're like, what is it? And he's like, it looks like a boy. And he goes, Hellboy? Yeah. And then he talks about, like, I didn't know that I would be naming him that day, but, like, it's stuck. And we're taken now back to current day, which in this time is 1994. So 50 years later, we have jumped ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. And Broom is now an older man, and he is, like, he's calling Hellboy back because a lot of people thought that he was dead. Well, I guess he doesn't know this. He feels off. Broom feels off. We come to find out that he had been on the expedition with these 3 Cavendish brothers off to, I'm trying to say if it says what they're looking for, but it says the expedition, the 3 Cavendish brothers, Sven Olafsson, the renowned Arctic explorer who's with them, and then also him, and then some crew, and they were headed up. I don't remember if it says what they're looking for.
Why'd you look at me when you called out the Arctic explorer? Like I'm going to know who that guy is. You're like, oh, Ben the Arctic explorer.
It's not that. I didn't realize I did that, but I think I just gave a tell.
I get it. Sure.
It's me telling you, remember that name.
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
I think without doing it, because it'll just make more sense.
I don't remember his name, but I got you.
Okay. Well, that's great. This is going to be great. Anyway, so Broom has called Hellboy in there because he doesn't remember, like, what happened on this expedition. Like, it's been missing for months, so everybody just presumed that they were dead.
Hellboy's been missing for months?
No, Broom has been on this expedition.
Okay.
They had been missing for months, and everybody had presumed they were dead.
Okay.
And so he's trying to recount all these events to Hellboy of, like, what happened. So he tells him how, they marched all the way up north. I'll read this word. Finally crossing the top of the world is where they were headed. And there, right there, the Cavendishes said it would be where 9 generations of their family. Does he say what they're looking for? He does, and I can't remember, and that would help out to this. Because all the Cavendish men are obsessed after this one thing at the top of the world.
Okay.
And so it's kind of infected them. We'll get into that more, but all generation after generation after generation of Cavendish men have all gone on this kind of expedition. And so they brought, they weren't going to fail this time, so they brought Broom along, and they brought the Arctic explorer, and they just kind of brought everybody with them. And so it's the ruins, frozen, older than the temple at Yang-Kor. Inside, dark and silent, like the ages of all the world was crammed into the narrow space. And when they get there, what we see is like a giant Cthulhu-like statue, but it's one of the snake gods. I think when it comes to Lovecraftian gods, but he also says we noticed at the base of this. And there's squatting in the darkest part of the darkness, part of the silence. You remember I showed you pictures of the statues found on Kofu in the 30s. It was like them, but bigger, 100 times bigger. And seated in front of it, surrounded by almost as though it were a part of it, human in form, cold, frozen, such exquisite detail in the carving, almost something. And it's like one of the people on the expedition goes to wipe the dirt off of it.
Yeah.
And you realize that it is still a person, and it says alive. And then it cuts back to Broom, and he's like, I can't remember anything else. Like, it's all just a blur. I don't know what's going on. And he's like, I pushed myself enough in the last, how long has it been? 10 months? You said that's how long they thought I was missing. So maybe it wasn't 7, it was 10 months.
Yeah.
But then we keep seeing these frogs fall into the room. And Hellboy brings up, sir, you've got frogs. And about that time, we notice there's this fear in Broom's eyes. And he kind of darts into, he tells him Hellboy to save himself.
God.
and he darts into the room that is there with the frogs, or away from it into the darkness. And Hellboy's like, "Sir, sir." And about that time, Broom's thrown back out into the hallway, and he's covered in these little suction marks.
I thought he jumped out the damn window. I thought he like went out the window is what it kind of looked like.
No, he runs into another room.
But he just went into the other dark room.
Yeah, and he's thrown through the door on the way back.
Gotcha.
And now he's covered in these little suction marks.
Yeah.
So Hellboy talks about like one of the things he doesn't do is just, or one of the, where was it at? One of the things, I'd be the first to admit that I have a shortage of fault. Oh, I have no shortage of faults. But if I had to pick one that's gotten me into most trouble over the years, I would say that it's sometimes I get angry. And when I get angry, I sometimes do stupid things like charging headfirst into a pitch black room. And so he like darts in to try to see what this thing that has attacked Broom is. And he has a scuffle with this creature that turns out to be like this giant, almost frog-like entity. And when it wraps his tongue around his arm, like he loses like movement in it and like feeling in it. It like paralyzes his limb. Thankfully, when he goes to stop him and it wraps it around his stone hand, it doesn't give the same effect. Like it doesn't paralyze it because his stone hand is his stone hand.
Sure.
And so he's able to use that to kind of throw the lizard off of him in a way as the two fight. And he pulls out his gun then to shoot the lizard. And it's like the lizard creature obviously or the frog creature, not lizard creature. Sorry. The frog creature realizes, oh, that's a gun. And he takes off running, and he goes ahead and he shoots him anyway as he's like climbing atop the toilet to like jump out the bathroom window. And he just kind of like disintegrates into a pool of just like sludge and bone there before him. So
I would think I would shoot at a giant frogman also.
You do think you would?
Yeah, I think I would.
Yeah. So, I mean, he did what most of us would do, and it worked out. We then see that Hellboy, to the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense. There it is. BPRD is what they are. But we see that Hellboy calls them to kind of tell them, like, hey, Broom's dead. There's this weird frog thing. You better send someone into the lab. Like, let's kind of figure out what's going on here.
Sure.
It might involve, I don't know if he says, so they realize, maybe this has something to do with the Cavendishes. And we're shown the Cavendish house. And as they're sitting there and they're reading, I think Hellboy calls. No, did I miss a page? No. We see the Cavendish house, and we see somebody off in the kind of like shadows behind her.
Yeah.
And it says, he is dead. We are proceeding. And then she goes, then you'll keep your promise. And you just see the shadowy figure say, yes, Emma, soon, very soon, as a frog crawls out of the coffee cup. And that is where issue 1 ends.
Oh, wow.
We are given like a breakdown of the people who were there for the Germans that we saw at the beginning.
I always like the guy who doesn't take his mask off.
Yeah, that's Professor Dr. Karl Rupert.
Professor Doctor.
Cronin. There's von Krupp, or Klaus Werner von Krupp.
Wait, is he for real Professor Doctor?
Yeah, Professor Dr. Karl.
Oh, I love that.
Then there's Leopold Kurtz, Isla Hauptstein, and then the guy who was wearing the gloves and stuff. It just says unknown. They know nothing about him.
And some guy named Ira Glass.
Yeah. And this has been fresh. No, he's not Fresh Air. He's oh my goodness.
I don't know. Just NPR. I don't know.
I read NPR, Mike. I also enjoyed.
You read it?
Story, huh?
You read it?
Not listen.
Oh, okay.
There's also
that's a lot of printing.
A story that I enjoyed in there about it's an African myth about frogs. Just to kind of show, like he tells you that frogs have always been harbingers of like impending doom, kind of.
Yeah.
And so like he gives like a story then to like showcase that, which I thought was really cool.
That was an actual story? Like
yeah. You want me to read?
No.
It is. Saying. No, it's quick. I'll read it real quick.
Okay, please.
No, that's fine. You brought it up, Mike. On a day when little water was to be found, man spent while in thought and realized that he might one day die, never to rise again. Man sent God to Dog to ask he might come back to life again, like the flowering plant after death. Dog went off and followed his nose towards God. He was soon distracted by the smell of soup and followed his hunger towards the source. Leaning close to watch it boil, Dog was content and forgot his mission. Seeing that Dog was lost, Frog took it upon himself to go to God and tell him that man did not want to live again. If man were to be reborn, thought Frog, he would soon muddy the rivers and destroy the birthplace of Frog.
That's true.
Dog finally arrived to tell God man's message. Leaning low, he crooned man's need for rebirth in the song of his howl. God was touched by the devotion of Dog for man, but God granted the Frog's wish because he got there first. So, I just thought that was like a cool little thing, then just to relate it all to of why it's frogs.
Not what's best, just who gets there first.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Well, I mean, the other one.
I'll remember that, God. I'll remember it.
The other one worked out too well for us. It seems like you're making threats right now.
Me?
But yeah.
No, not at all.
Okay. We start off chapter 2.
If I know the rules, I'll play the game. You know, I'm just saying, that's all.
We start off chapter 2 of the series, and that is the Cavendish house. And the members of the BPRD have shown up to kind of talk to her.
Their house is not scary looking at all.
It's very creepy looking. They talk about how...
You know what it looks like? It looks like the house that Sylvester from Looney Tunes has to go spend a night in with Porky Pig. That's what it looks like.
It does. It talks about how like there used to be water completely around it, and that's evaporated, and it's just kind of like sinking.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I take that back. That it used to be more land about it, but it keeps sinking and sinking. So that's water all the way around the house like a moat.
Yeah.
You know, so it's seen a lot better days.
Yeah, it's creepy looking.
But we are introduced to Elizabeth Sherman and also Dr. Abraham Sapien.
Okay, so Dr. Abraham
Sapien.
He's in the movie as well, right?
And so is, I'm pretty sure Elizabeth Sherman is.
I think she is too, yeah.
I think that's Selma Blair's character.
Okay.
And you know, if you know who Abraham Sapien is, then you know who Abe Sapien is. But if not, we're going to get to it in a second, and you can learn out all together.
I don't know what just happened.
That's fine.
Okay.
But so they arrive, and they introduce, it's Hellboy's with them too. So it's the three of them there, and they go to talk to her, and she tells them about how she kind of gives a history lesson of the family.
Sure.
You know, the expedition, 9 generations of the Cavendish family believed that there was something at the top of the world. I don't know how many of them died trying to find it, but the last time that they took Broom with them, the man I called my father, Hellboy's given this kind of narration over it. He goes, and now he's dead. So like they're trying to figure out what's the connection with all this.
Well, he's the one that found him, right?
Well, he's the one
guy
he's talking to.
Well, I'm saying the guy he's talking about that's dead. He's the one that basically pulled him out of wherever he was and
with the frogs.
Put him in front of the army.
Oh yeah, that's the same guy.
Yeah, same guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
The guy who you thought looked like Adam Driver.
Yeah. Looks just like him.
Just like him?
Just like him.
So we kind of get an explanation of how, again, all the families have been obsessed with this mission, like Cavendish after Cavendish. We even bring up the fact that the very first man of this who had the money, I think his name is Elijah.
Okay.
Cavendish. That he was preparing for the expedition and ended up getting like too sick and wasn't able to go. Like he never. It says our family fortune was found in Europe. There you go. Elihu. It's Elihu. Elihu Cavendish.
Elihu.
Yeah, he began as a simple whaler, but by the time he died, he had mastered. Or he was the master of many ships, but that was never. He was never at rest and never satisfied.
He started as a simple whaler.
Yeah.
Okay. Just getting my bearings here.
Yeah.
I don't.
And so it talks about how that's Elihu there. How he just was never satisfied. Like all these travels he went on around the world and back like 24 times, all these strange ports. And while he was there, he had found like the house was completed there that they built. And with it completed, he set about to prepare an expedition to the farthest reaches of the Arctic to search for something he learned off of a scrap of ancient parchment he had acquired in some lost corner of the world. But, as it says, before he could leave, he died of typhus. He was one of thousands who died that year. Typhus. And then she just goes through how, like, all the other members of the family have kind of been obsessed with it, too, all the way up to her boys.
Yeah.
But like, that's all she knows. She doesn't know anything about else.
Well, that's the way it is with that kind of stuff, you know?
I
mean, that kind of stuff gets in your veins.
It is. And so, after that, the butler comes back in and is like, oh, do you want me to take them to their rooms? She's like, yes, please. And so they like go off together. Like they'll talk more in the morning.
The butler's creepy as shit, though. Look at him.
He is.
Look at his face.
And so they're there, and as the butler kind of takes them to their rooms, we see Emma, who's the old woman, sitting down on her chair, and that mysterious figure off in the shadows, like telling her, "You did really good. I'm sure they don't suspect anything." And he goes, "Now my work can be completed even sooner than I planned." And then she goes, "Then you promise?" And he goes, "My promise is kept, Emma. I return your two oldest boys to you." And then it says, "Children, come and kiss your mother goodnight." And then it cuts back to us, our butler, taking everybody to the rooms. So while they're there, we also get a little history about Elizabeth Sherman.
Yeah.
And how she has pyrotechnic abilities.
Oh.
And how.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. She snaps and the fire comes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She has pyrotechnic abilities, and it talks about a very bad case where she wiped out like an entire block in 74 when she wasn't able to like harness her powers and stuff like that.
Shit, I'm remembering all this from the movie. Yeah. This is great. Yeah.
So while Hellboy and Abe Sapien are sitting there in their hotel room looking around, Abe brings up, "Hey, didn't that butler look familiar to you?" And he's like, "You know who the butler is?" And Hellboy's, "Yeah, he looked familiar. Who is it?" And he's like, "He looks just like Sven Olafsson, which is the Arctic explorer who went back with him."
Yeah.
And he's like, "This makes no sense at all. Why would she lie, not knowing where her sons are and stuff, if Olafsson's here parading around as her butler?" And he's like, "I think that maybe we need to take a more direct approach. Why don't you go see... Since it's all water around us, why don't you go dive and see what you can figure out?" And that is when we are introduced to the actual Abe Sapien, as he takes off his beard and glasses and overcoat. And we get a little history lesson.
I completely
on him
forgot that was his name.
Abe Sapien?
Yeah.
Abraham Sapien. And it explains it's a joke about the Abraham.
It's Fraser's brother.
It is. It's
that
David
plays
Hyde
it in
Pierce.
the movie. Yeah, David Hyde Pierce. Yeah.
It talks about that he was discovered when plumbers working in the basement of St. Trinan's Hospital in Washington, D.C. They broke open a sealed door and discovered a long forgotten chamber. There's a note that says Ichthyo Sapien on it, April 14th, 1865.
Jeez.
The Bureau took his name from the inscription on the scrap of paper, and they pinned up next to the tube the day that President Lincoln died. So it's kind of a
for
joke.
His age.
That's why he's called Abraham, because of that.
So this Abraham Sapien is... It always confused me because of The Shape of Water.
Yeah.
You remember that movie?
Yeah.
The Shape of Water?
That's also a Guillermo del Toro
Same
movie,
guy, right?
No, okay, so I'm pretty sure Doug Jones plays the...
Right, but I'm saying he looks just like the one from Hellboy.
Yeah.
And it's a Del Toro movie.
Similar, yeah.
So I'm like, I wonder if that has to do with the like the strife between the creator and the director.
I don't think so.
I don't know. That just always confused me because it's the exact same. It's almost like they went, "Oh, we already got this costume. Let's make a movie."
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe. So Abe jumps out the window to dive into the water below to kind of go look around, and Hellboy calls Elizabeth, and they bring up like, "Hey, did you notice the butler?" And she's like, "Yeah, it looks just like Sven Olafsson." And then all of a sudden, her call drops, and he's like, "Elizabeth, Elizabeth," and he just sprints over there because he knows something's bad, and he breaks into her room, and there's frogs in there. So he sits there and he turns around after he notices the frogs there, and you see, "Is there a problem, sir?" And it's the butler, and he goes, "You, where is she?" And he grabs him to ask where Elizabeth is.
Rough him up a bit.
And Sven Olafsson turns into another one of those giant frog monsters.
Whoa.
And the two of them just duke it out. They duel out back and forth, punch for punch. He's got to watch out for the tongue, because that tongue will kind of paralyze.
I was going to say, he's got a hell of a tongue there.
Yeah, his tongue will kind of wrap around and paralyze whatever it's wrapped around. So he's got to watch out for that.
It also made him very popular.
As the two fight back and forth throughout the entire manor.
Yeah.
Then we cut while the two of them are fighting, and he thinks that because they land off the scaffolding.
Right.
And they fall through, and he hits them with a giant statue, and he hasn't turned into a puddle like the other one did, but he's just he looks beat.
He does look beat.
And then we cut
all his color's gone.
Yeah.
All that.
So we think he's dead, maybe. We then cut to Abe Sapien as he is kind of swimming underneath the house, and he pops up into where he can kind of come through up in the bottom of the house through the, I guess, basement and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Hellboy is running around now looking for Miss Cavendish, since she's like, I don't think she knew that, she has a frog guy working for her. And then he walks into, like, he finds her finally in where they had talked earlier. He's like, ma'am? And then he looks and notices she's got those same little suction marks on her that Broom had.
Yeesh.
So it's too late. And he's like, I should have known. I should have done something to protect you. And then we see the guy in the shadows off to the side. And he's like, do not distress yourself, creature. You need not shed a tear for Emma. She died as she wanted to, in the loving embrace of her 2 sons.
She doesn't look too hot.
She doesn't.
Mm-mm.
And he's like, that voice, I know that voice, is what Hellboy's thinking. And the mystery figure says, of course you know my voice, creature. I am your master, your true father upon this plane. 50 years ago, I summoned you forth from the shadows.
Oh, my.
Kneel before me, creature. Surrender unto me, and you shall live to see the new dawn of this world. And Hellboy's like, no, I don't think I'm going to. And about that time, there's a crack from the planks underneath him as a giant tentacle comes up and wraps him up from around and just pulls him down. But it has the same kind of, it's same as like the frog's tongue, like it paralyzes him while he's there.
And there's your big H.P. Lovecraft tie-in with all the tentacles.
Yeah. And then all the tentacles and stuff. And so...
that man loves some tentacles.
It says, the old wizard seems to drone on from 1,000 miles away. And our wizard friend is saying, be not too quick to refuse yourself, or your destiny, creature. I alone know that the secret you have sought for so long. He's telling him, like, I can, I got all the answers you need, kind of in a way. And he tells him...
Well, he's kind of telling him he owns him, right? Because he's the one that brought him forth and all that.
Like, I can tell everything, where you came from, why you're here.
Yeah.
He's like, so think a lot about it and consider the role that you were summoned to play.
And that guy looks kind of Rasputin-y.
He does.
Like Rasputin or Anton LaVey, that kind of demonology.
He does.
That kind of stuff.
Spoiler alert, we're going to get into it after a break, but it is Rasputin.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So,
well, I think Rasputin's in the second one.
He's in the first one too.
Is he?
They call him Rasputin.
Oh, wow.
Because he's in that scene of where they're, on the, like they're they're summoning Hellboy. They have it, except both the American troops and all that are all at the same place.
Can we play that song?
What one?
The Rasputin song.
What is the Rasputin song?
You don't know the Rasputin song?
No.
Okay. I'll have to introduce you to the Rasputin song during the break.
Okay. But it finishes with a stand beside me. Let me harness the power you hold unknowing in your right hand, or die.
Oh.
And that is where we end the second issue of Hellboy: Seed of Destruction. We'll come back and close out the story with the last 2 issues, right? Or soon, coming up next. However you go to a break, right here.
We'll see you in a minute
on Bros, Foes, and Heroes. Welcome back into Bros, Foes, and Heroes as we close out Hellboy: Seed of Destruction. We're at the halfway point, and Hellboy has been pulled underneath through, we find out, essentially by those tentacles into the bottom of the house, where our mystery wizard is. And that's
mystery wizard.
Our mystery wizard, yeah. And
I wish I was a mystery wizard.
You already know who he is, but still, he's our mystery wizard.
I would like to be called a mystery wizard.
The mystery wizard?
Yeah.
Sounds like it might be a derogatory. I don't know.
No, I think it's like Mr. Wizard, right? You know the show Mr. Wizard? The old man that would teach people how to rub balloons in their hair and stuff? Yeah.
No. I know of it. Like, I've never seen it.
Well, he was, just a TV guy who knew a bunch of science.
Like Bill Nye, but
he was Bill Nye,
cool?
but before Bill Nye. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
More of a Captain Kangaroo version of Bill Nye.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
But he was Mr. Wizard. Now, a mystery wizard.
You're the wizard of mysteries.
Well, you're either a wizard of mysteries or no one knows who you are, but they know you're a wizard. I think that's where we're sitting with this one, right?
That's a very good point.
Okay. All right. Mystery wizard. Got it.
Well, so
saw it on Scooby-Doo one time too.
He tells him again. I don't know if I ever told you the name, but you know it from the movie. It's Ragnarok was the plan of what they.
You did say that. Yeah, you said it up front. Yeah.
Okay. But he said, we were called, like, this is bigger than you. I wasn't trying to sit there. Well, he kind of gets in that when he tells the story, but he's telling Hellboy, like, hey, I'm giving you another shot. Like, join me as part of your destiny. I can tell you all these questions you have. Yeah. And Hellboy still tells him, like, I think I'll pass. And he's like, I don't think you seem to fully understand the mystery wizard. But these words I do not offer.
No one understands the mystery wizard.
By these words, I command, is what he's telling him. And he goes, Hellboy tells him, I don't think so. And about that time, shoots him point blank in the face.
Oh, no.
And he just turns back around and realizes, it did nothing to him.
Yeah. Well, he's Rasputin. I mean, what are you going to do?
Exactly.
Hey, wasn't there a mystery wizard that sold, like, what is it, Cookie Crisp cereal?
That was before my time, but yes, Cookie
Crisp
used
wizard?
to be a wizard.
Okay.
It did.
All right.
It's always been like the cop and robber, or the cop and burglar.
Yeah, it's that
or like
dog
the
or wolf or whatever it is. Yeah.
But no, that was the cops and robbers for a bit.
I remember that cereal being very good though.
I haven't had it. Man,
it makes you want some Cookie Crisp all of a sudden.
I'm gonna pick up some Cookie Crisp on the way home.
You know what? Okay, this has nothing to do with this comic, but it has to do with Cookie Crisp.
Okay, go ahead. I will allow it.
I buy boxes of like the Walmart version of cereal.
Yeah.
And I just use them as snacks.
Yeah.
Like I just sit there and eat out of the box.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Well, I don't usually have any pants on.
You don't have to tell us all of it. You could have edited it with the snacks. Well, again, if you're at your house, do what you want to.
No pants.
Yeah, no pants eating.
Apple, what do they call Apple Rounds?
Instead of Apple Jacks?
Instead of Apple Jacks, the greatest cereal ever invented.
The store brand Frosted Flakes?
I don't eat Frosted Flakes, really. Okay. Because here's the thing. If I'm going to buy a cereal, I want one that's sturdy enough. If I decide to put milk on it, it will hold up.
So you hate Fruity Pebbles?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
See?
Never really liked the Fruity Pebbles.
I've always liked
It's
Fruity
okay.
Pebbles.
But I would rather have Fruit Loops. But again, fruit, not so much. So I want the Apple Jacks. I like Apple Jacks. Okay. And then Cookie Crisp, I remember being a big one.
I want to try that.
But
last time I got Reese's. Have you ever did the
Reese's? You talk about Reese's a lot, but I'm not a big peanut butter person.
Yeah, that's so weird. I get that.
But I like it's Apple Jacks and Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Those are the two. And let me tell you, as far as a snack goes, you can't get much better than Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
No, you can't. I, as a kid, would do that same thing. I would get either like a bowl and not put milk in it, or I'd get a Ziploc baggie and I put it in the Ziploc baggie.
Yeah.
And then I
carry
just walk
around with
you.
Yeah. And even if it gets crushed, you just chug the powder. Yeah.
Dude, no, Cinnamon Toast Crunch was where it was.
Now,
at.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch and Applejack, the other thing they have in common with each other.
That they're cereals?
And we'll get back to Hellboy here in a second. But the thing that they have in common with each other is they make great cereal milk. So it's kind of almost horchata-y. It is very horchata-y. Now, the Apple Jack's a little bit different. But
the Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
But those are two cereals that I would get a small bowl, pour the milk, I would eat it all, and then I'd put more in the milk.
You get like you would do another bowl?
You get double cereal milk.
Oh,
and then you drink that, and it's like drinking from the mother's teat. I mean, it's very thick and tasty.
Oh, you didn't have to say thick. It sounds like you're talking about something else.
Yeah, it's thick and tasty.
So
it's very moist.
I hate that word. I really do not like it.
No, that's what I would do because it's just, I don't know, you'd like doubled your flavor. Doubled your fun.
Your fun. That's the statement of a great mint, like Double Mint Gum. Not a sponsor. Back to...
Do you remember the twins?
Yeah.
The Double Mint twins?
Well, there were more than just them. Like, I guess they felt like, we can't have pretty twins. We got to just have multiple twins.
Can't have pretty twins. Got to have ugly twins.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when Jeff and Carl rolled out.
Exactly.
The ugly Double Mint twins.
He's kind of like, he's thrown off that...
Back to Hellboy.
Back to Hellboy.
Yeah.
Hellboy's thrown off that Rasputin is not affected by the shot to the face. And Rasputin kind of essentially just tells him, like, they discovered me up there because I was sitting there. Where does he get to it? Oh, the power of the Dragon King grows in him with every thunderous great beat of his heart. In him does I breed need. Where is he talking about? Oh, I'm sorry. So after he lands there, he gets into a fight with another frog creature. And that's where we find out that it's Sven Olafsson that has been turned into like this frog creature. Before we do get an explanation, and I thought it was here soon. It is. Okay. Of all like his backstory to kind of explain what's happened in those 50 years. And I'll save about the expedition a little bit more at that point. We cut to Abe, who is kind of going through the underneath of the house.
I didn't realize Abe could get out of the water.
Yeah.
Is he out of the water in the movie? I thought he was always in the water.
He was in the water in the movie for the part I watched.
Okay.
But he can be out of it, but I think
like quick.
No, because he was sitting there. I think he can be out of it because he was just sitting there in the disguise the whole time talking to him.
Is he like Aquaman, where any liquid will restore him? We had a comment about that.
We've had multiple comments about that.
Any liquid will restore
That is
him.
what it said verbatim.
That is an open-ended joke.
It is.
That is. Ugh.
So, to the guy who said I could pee on him.
Yep.
I mean, granted, Infinite Crisis happened in like 86, and so none of that counts anymore as canon, but
it reset
I still
it all?
choose. Yeah, that was the first of the resets.
Yeah.
But yes, whatever liquid you wanted.
So I can pee on Abe.
You could.
Saying,
well, no, not Abe. Aquaman.
Yeah.
I don't know about Abe. I don't know if Abe is any liquid kind of thing. We're just talking about Silver Age Aquaman.
Okay, gotcha.
And as he comes out, he talks
So
about how he
stupid.
sees like 2 of those frog creatures, and they're holding Miss Cavendish. So when
she's
Rasputin
looking worse than she did.
Well, she's dead.
Like she's drying up at this point. She looks mummified.
But it's essentially her 2 sons that are left.
Yeah.
Like when they're just being there with
cradling
their mother.
her head and croaking her to death.
And they're just like they take her underwater with them.
Ribbit, mama. Ribbit.
And Abe is just kind of like, nope, I'm not going that way.
Yeah.
And he's like feeling around behind him and finds a loose board that he pushes through.
Sure.
And as he steps in through there, he notices a person in the distance, and it's Elihu Cavendish.
I'll tell you about this dude's art.
Yeah.
It is some creepy looking stuff.
I love it,
Like
man.
that top right-hand picture there, that guy looks like a zombie /
Well, it's supposed to. That's the first.
Yeah, I get it. I'm just saying it's very well done.
But that is the original Cavendish, the one who didn't get to go because he had typhus.
Yeah. He says typhus.
Yeah.
Poor typhus.
The typhus just taking its time. Then we cut back to Hellboy fighting Sven, the frog monster.
I usually order at Noodle King. The Thai fish and noodles, were very good.
Typhus or tyfish?
Typhus, yeah.
Typhus
I don't know. I tried.
Yeah.
Not all of them are going to be gold.
You can't stick every landing.
That's true.
And so while they're sitting there, and we get a big battle between Hellboy and Sven, the lizard guy, and they're just going at it back and forth.
Oh.
And there's a point where Sven gets the upper hand.
Is that his tongue at the
It
bottom?
is. Remember, he has to watch out for it because
right. I'm just saying.
Oh, at the very bottom? No, I think that's Hellboy's tail.
Oh, okay.
And as he's kind of laying there just beaten to a pulp in front of Rasputin decides to tell him decides to tell him what has happened in the time since the 50s. He talks about how, like, perhaps, time I told you more about myself. And he's like, following the exaggerated reports of my death, I left my blessed soul of Russia and I went to a small town in Italy. He goes, and then while I was there for more than 20 years, I lived in isolation, preaching on occasion to those brave souls who dared approach me, telling of the coming Ragnarok, the new age of the serpent, speaking as the prophet of the apocalypse, but mostly wrapped in silence as I listened for the voices that had spoken to me under the river. And he's talking about, I guess, under the river, like when he was there, when he was thrown into the river after his death. He goes, and I heard nothing. And so I wanted instead, for some kind of communication, I wanted a sign. And that sign came at last in all the form of a small and cringing human. His name was Himmler, and he came to hire
Himmler.
me. Yep. So
I've always had a liking for the Rasputin character. Like, I understand it was a real person and all that, right? I get it. But what I'm saying is, I think the Rasputin story is, like, very thick and, like, I would love. Okay, so here's what I want. I want a Rasputin story, but I want it where he's not totally a lunatic or what. I would like a. I want an
You're asking
otherworld.
for a lot here, Mike.
Well, I want an otherworld Rasputin story, right?
You want a nice Rasputin.
No, I don't want nice Rasputin, but I want other adventures with Rasputin. I don't want to hear about Russia all the time.
Fair enough. So he talks about.
You can kill the Nazis. I don't care. That's fine. Just give me some Rasputin.
He's partnering with him here.
Well,
and he talks about how he didn't agree with their ideologies and that he
McDonald's
found them.
partnered with My Little Pony at one point too. So
I don't think those are the same thing. But he tells them, like, I work closely with, like, none of these, like, we didn't have the same levels. Like, they were beneath me, and I knew that, but they gave me a means to justify my ends.
Yeah.
And he's like, so I found the 3 that I work closest with that I could, like, you know, kind of deal with the most, or, like, stand the most in a way, and we setting forth the plan, which ended up bringing you here.
So who were the ones he was with? I mean, obviously there's Hitler.
That's who he was with. Remember the Nazis on the island? That he was the guy who was holding out the stick and stuff.
So it's Hitler, Rammstein, or what?
Rasputin?
No, what's the other guy? The Himmler. It's Himmler, and who's the third one? Because he said he had 3 guys he liked to work with.
No, that's not the 3 he liked working with.
Oh.
The 3 he liked working with are the ones we talked about earlier.
The 3 he liked working with are the one with the mask.
The one with the mask, the professor, doctor, and the lady. She's not old.
Okay. All right. I got you.
Yeah,
okay,
that's the group.
Up.
Sorry.
Got it.
That's the group that he.
I've been here all along, but I'm just now caught up. Yeah, I got
all
you.
Good.
Sure.
He talks about how they brought Hellboy forward, and then the Germans lost the war, and then he was alone. And he goes, and then finally I heard the voices again, and they told me, they bade me to go north. And so north up towards the Arctic waters to the very top of the world. And that's when he was there. And when he got there, he talks about how he found the Sadhu hymn left by the Adru Jihad.
He went on a Batman quest is what he did.
Yeah, that they might always have a foothold in the world from which they were forever banished. Yeah. Hidden from the eyes of God, dead and fossilized to another, it would have seemed but a grotesque statue. But to me, I felt its mind alive and waiting. So he finds this statue, and he essentially goes and decides to meditate in front of it until he's able to communicate with it. And he's finally, after years and years, he's finally able to do that. And that's why he looked like he was meditating, like he's part of the statue there, because he's kind of come one with it. When he's discovered by the Cavendish expedition and Broom and everybody else.
That looked like a Stonehenge-y looking place.
It very much kind of did.
Okay.
That's all the different 7 beasts. The Amon Jihad.
This is starting to scare me a little bit.
Is it really?
Yeah, I don't like it very much.
Okay, well, we're almost done.
Making me feel creepy.
So, but it represents
don't watch,
the
kids.
7 gods. But it talks about how then, like, until the touch of a human hand awakened me when they wiped it off.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I saw, the guy that you called father there, and I was able to get him from killing off the creature that he awoken, from killing off everyone and keeping some of them alive so they would have, the ability to move the statue from the top of the world to where they needed to go. And so that's how he tried to turn, like, Sven Olafsson into a frog monster.
Yeah.
The creature did, and they turned her sons into it.
Rasputin was in the 3rd Kingsman movie, too.
There's a 3rd Kingsman movie?
I think it was 3rd. Maybe it was 2nd.
Oh.
I don't know. Rasputin's featured in one of them.
I only watched the first one.
Yeah. Second one's not so good.
And so...
The second one, I'm going to tell you a secret about the second one.
Yeah.
The whole plot revolves around somebody sticking something up their butt. It's the entire plot. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry. I didn't like it. It wasn't great.
I can sense just that. Just
wasn't great. Yeah.
And then he says that he left Broom essentially alive because he knew that he would go back and he would contact you, and you would come here to me. So, like, he's like, I put in a plan, like, I brought you forward 50 years ago. Now I have you right here again where I need you to set forth Ragnarok. Like, that's what you're for.
These people in their Ragnarok.
It is.
All these people with their Ragnaroks.
But then he essentially tells him, like, if you don't want to help me, like, that's fine. I can do it without you.
Sure.
And he brings out that he has Elizabeth using her power. Like, you guys don't know how powerful.
Flame Girl,
that's
right?
Flame Girl.
Okay.
You guys don't know how, like, powerful she is.
Yeah.
Like, you thought that she, that you could contain it and stuff like that, but y'all just really didn't know what she had. And now I can use her power to help bring forth this Ragnarok, is what he tells Hellboy.
You can only hope to contain her.
That's true. And so then he says, where's it? So he asks Hellboy, like, again, like, will you help me fulfill my purpose? And he tells him, like, go to hell.
Ooh.
And he goes, no need, creature. Hell is already coming here.
Oh, my.
And about that time, we cut back as Hellboy laments, I know with an unshakable clarity that I am in serious trouble here. I need help. And I wonder where Abe is. and we see that Abe has now been attacked by the Elihu Cavendish ghost, zombie, whatever it is, as Elihu just kind of looks over him. And that takes us in now to our last chapter of chapter 4, where we see
I'm a little worried about Abe at this point.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens there with Abe.
Okay.
So Rasputin is ready to set forth this Ragnarok to bring the 7 gods back to Earth to essentially bring forth the apocalypse.
Sure.
And he's the bringer
of this. Why do they always want that?
They do.
Bad guys always want either Nazis, apocalypse.
Well, it's because I think they're thinking like, I'll be one of the new ones left. But the thing is, probably not. I don't think that's how it works.
A long time ago, somebody told me something like
that you had a boyfriend who looked like a girlfriend that I had in February of last year.
That's exactly right. But in the second conversation we had, the problem is when you deal with this kind of stuff, you don't read the fine print.
No.
And so if you get everything you want, there's also consequences that go with that.
For sure.
So these guys, they always get in bed with this stuff. And then you're like, well, but you didn't think about all the mice that were going to crawl up your trousers or whatever.
You're stuck with trousers full of mice.
That's what I'm saying.
Great.
Yeah. It never works out for these guys.
But he is using Liz's power to set this, stuff in motion.
Yeah.
And Sven Olafsson, Frog Monster, has his tongue wrapped around Hellboy as he's just kind of incapacitated there, having to watch it all happen. And so they think that he starts Rasputin starts going through all of this, all the parts of his
like incantation.
Yeah, there you
stuff.
go.
Yeah.
Talking about all the Aman Jihad, the Noon Jihad, like trying to bring them all forward one after the other.
Right.
And eventually Hellboy, realizing he has to do something very desperate, he's able to reach in his pocket of stuff and find a concussion grenade from 6 years ago, and he's like, I pray that this works still then. But what else do I do?
Yeah.
So he pulls it and he shoves it down the frog's mouth before he lets go of it, and it just explodes. Like the grenade works, and it gets him off of the frog monster as Rasputin is still going through all of his incantation. And we see like it's forming, like there's the giant like swirl in the air.
Oh yeah,
as all these stones are coming and clanking together.
Yeah,
like it's getting close.
Sure.
And then we see, while all of this is happening, we cut out to space.
Of course.
And while we're there, well, I'm assuming it's space. It's another life form they're there, and they're like, don't they know, like, who would be mad enough on Earth to like bring this source back? Don't they know that this thing just eats planets? Like it doesn't. Like, that's what it tells them. It's like power readings growing stronger, life force readings already off the scale. And they're asking, like, a power beam is emanating from the core world, Captain. And he goes, fools, don't they know what they're doing?
Well, that's
the
what I'm
7
saying.
will smash their world to cinders. And when that's done, they'll spread their evil all over to all known dimensions. No one will be spared. Only one power can stop them. The power that imprisoned them. The power that created them.
Oh.
And it cuts back because it's like, and where is that power? ? And it cuts back to.
This is that unintended consequences crap I'm talking about,
for
right?
Sure.
Yeah. Butterflies flaps its wings.
And as he's sitting there, Hellboy's trying desperately to get up to stop Rasputin. And he goes on, he's like, yes, yes, rise the black winds. Howl the demons, scream the birth and triumph, tremble all before coming of the end of end. And he like looks like he has a look on his face of like what just happened.
He's got a little blood coming out of his mouth too.
Because he has a harpoon through his back.
Yeah, that'll happen.
And as he's sitting there, we see a man off in the distance who just threw the harpoon, and it says Abe, but not alone. And behind him, the shadow speaks. And it says, because they realize that Abe is in some sort of trance, kind of.
Sure.
And then the shadow of Elihu Cavendish just says, wake up, girl. And about that time, she does.
Oh.
And Rasputin just essentially, like, her powers kick on.
Yeah.
Flame on. Like
yeah, Johnny Storm.
Johnny Storm.
Watch out.
And he's caught on fire as Abe then leaps down to rescue her from Rasputin's grasp.
Yeah.
And they talk about how they need to get out of there, and the two of them are running away
with her.
As the wizard and his statue just tend to, blow up essentially underneath
everything's
there.
On fire, everything blows up.
Yep, they're telling them to move. They're trying to get out. They find steps and they go up, and Hellboy stops and he goes, I don't think I'm done yet. and he turns back around and notices that Rasputin's still alive. And he goes, I'm still your master. It is past time I destroyed you. And the two of them have this just gnarly little battle back and forth.
Yeah.
And he tells him, I think Creature, oh, if you kill me, you'll never know. Like, he finally gets the upper hand on him. And Rasputin tells him, if you kill me, you'll never know who you are. You'll never understand the power inside you. And Hellboy goes, yeah, you're right. And then he sits there and he goes, but I can live with that. And he just punches him anyway as he kind of turns into a skull and bones. And he just
punches
collapses.
him so hard his skull pops out.
It does. And then he grabs the skull and he crushes it with his stone hand too. Like, he wants to make sure he's dead.
Well, I mean, he's already come back like 3 times.
That's
here,
true.
So, yeah.
Then we go and we see Elijah Cavendish's ghost or spirit or zombie go sit back in the chair where he was beneath as the whole house just kind of goes
Starts to
up.
kind of implode.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're then shown to the next, or that morning, where there's nothing left but kind of rubble there.
Sure. Rubble.
And Abe is telling, he goes, I was looking at what I thought was a statue of old Elijah Cavendish, and there was a harpoon sticking through a guy. And there's 3, like, there was a really big monster, and they're trying to piece it all together, and they can't. Like, I don't know what the hell was going on. And Hellboy says, sounds to me like old man Cavendish took over your body. He was the one who did the harpooning. And he goes, yeah, your Mr. Ragnarok killed the last of Elihu's family, an old family with a lot of pain attached to its name, enough to allow him to reach from beyond to grab, or from the grave to exact his vengeance. And Hellboy's like, maybe, or maybe he was just pissed because somebody else found that thing up in the Arctic before he did. Yeah. He's like, whatever it is, like, you know, it is what it is. We're out of it. We're safe.
Yeah, it worked either way.
And as they sit there and they're getting ready to leave, he tells them, you were alone at the end. What did he say to you talking to Rasputin? And it says again that line we just said about, if you kill me, you'll never know.
Yeah.
You'll never understand the power inside you. And then it said, I will see you crawl before me, is actually his last words. And Hellboy just kind of hangs his head like he's lost in thought as he's sitting there thinking about it. And then we close out the comic with a castle. It says, this is not the end. And it's off in a snowy distance. And as you look inside, there's like frozen German soldiers around this equipment covered in snow. And all of a sudden, a box starts beeping.
Ah, shit.
And beeping and beeping. And we see that the group that Rasputin had befriended early, or I guess were his, people from when he worked with the Germans, have been, I guess, cryogenically frozen. They have now been unfrozen. And that is where Hellboy Seed of Destruction ends.
Wow.
It's
always those damn Nazis.
It is, but there you go.
Stinking
So
Nazis.
that was Hellboy, Seed of Destruction. And I got to tell you, I really enjoyed it.
It's very well done, and it's very beautiful. It's a gorgeous comic.
Again, I tried to not dive into everything because I like to think that we can give you the basic story if you want to, and you can understand it for stuff. But then also, if you wanted to go back and read it, you would still learn things and enjoy things yourself.
You should. This one's cool.
Yeah, no. It's to the point I finished reading it, and I immediately wanted to go find the second volume to read it.
Yeah.
The library says they have it, but it's nowhere where they have it. Couldn't find it, so I'm just gonna have to bite the bullet and maybe buy it. But I dig Hellboy a lot, man. Like, that was really good.
It's good stuff.
And I really enjoyed it. And
there's very little to make fun of in this one.
No,
I tried, but I couldn't. Yeah,
that's the thing, is it's a good one.
Yeah.
And I don't know
very
necessarily. Next week, I'm getting into Batman Damned right now.
Yeah.
Like, I've started reading it, so it'll be a different kind of book. There is controversy with the book at the time it came out that I don't think...
Batman book?
Yeah, the Batman Damned, that I don't think you knew about. So that'll be interesting to break something down to you there.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was about Batwing.
Oh. I don't know anything about Batwing.
No, not Wing, Wang.
Oh, Batwang?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Like
a penis, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We'll get to that next week.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah. You ever wanted to see Bruce Wayne's junk?
No.
Well, apparently a lot of people were upset that they even thought about it.
I think I know what you're talking about. I think we talked about that one time.
Did we when it came out?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll have more of the story and we'll break that down. But we will also have...
It's the outline of his Batwiener, right?
Something like that. But we will have Batman Damned. We're going to focus on the story there too. But I might as well just at least explain
hey,
why
good job.
This
is a great job.
Oh, no.
It was wonderful.
It is. But thank you guys for voting in both these polls to be able to give us great stuff to read. I'll do another one here in the future, like here pretty soon. After I figure out what it's going to be.
It's honestly the last thing worth voting for.
Us. Thank you guys so much. Everybody who leaves comments, everybody who subscribes, everybody who likes. I appreciate it so much.
It's so much fun to see those comments and stuff come in.
It is.
Yeah.
Even the ones
so
that
cool.
kind of give us gruff.
It's I don't give a crap. Yeah, that's great.
It's nice to see that, I don't know, you guys care at least a little bit.
Yeah,
so,
no kidding.
Next week, Batman Damned.
Pew, pew.
And then you'll have to turn into that to see what's after that. But that's what we have. As always, make sure to check out Rogue Media Network and the Rogue Media Network family of podcasts.
RogueMediaNetwork.com.
And until next time, stay safe, everybody.
Golly to the con.
Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production. Are you a podcaster? Let's talk podcast hosting. Are you tired of your current podcast host? Need real support in a community that gets it? At Rogue Media Network, we offer top-tier podcast hosting services to help you thrive. From hosting and distribution to dedicated support, we've got you covered. Starting as low as $25 a month. Join our community of passionate podcasters today. Contact us at hello@roguemedianetwork.com.